cannot, we must not, we will not leave our citizens behind. We're going to be focused on jobs, economic vitality, and bringing Philadelphia back from this economic crisis. We're working every day to make this a safer city. Here in Philadelphia, we know how to get things done. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired about blight and deteriorated properties in this city. We are the smart choice. We are the smart city, ready to go. We are incredibly excited about this farmers market as a part of our Get Healthy Philly initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this really exciting ribbon cutting for the first of 4 ornamental gates which are being installed on City Hall. All the rest of them will be done before Thanksgiving. Now, we're delighted the mayor's here. If he'd been 5 minutes later, we would have moved the event into the fountain, and we all could have gotten nice and wet and cold. But you know, it took just 146 years from the design being developed till today's installation. We pride ourselves on moving quickly with projects. But we are really seriously here today because of Mayor Nutter's real commitment to the ongoing process of preserving, restoring, and improving Philadelphia City Hall, a National Historic Landmark. Now, these gates were first drawn by City Hall's architect, John MacArthur, in 1869. They were part of a drawing that was part of a larger plan. Building construction commenced in 1870, and it took 30 years to build this building. So the building was not complete until 1900, and during all that time, the courtyard was used for construction staging because there was a city around and there was no room. So with construction staging going on the inside, it made no sense to install those ornamental gates. When the building was finished in 1900, no sooner was it done than construction began on the Market Street subway. And once again, the courtyard was used for construction staging, and that went from 1903 to 1908. A couple of years later, the Broad Street line was constructed, and once again, the courtyard was used for construction staging. That took us all the way up to 1920. To the best of anyone's knowledge, it's not that someone decided not to install the gates. We think what happened is they were simply forgotten about. They were part of a drawing. 40 years went by. No one thought much about the gates until the Vitetta firm was retained by the city in the 1990s to do the preservation plan for City Hall. And Hy Myers from Vitetta, who's sitting right here in the front row, came upon these sketches of the gates, and his firm recreated the first drawings. Now, those who've been around a while remember that Mayor Rendell and Mayor Street proceeded with the plans for a $90 million renovation to this building based on all the plans that Vitetta had put together. And probably the gates just didn't make the budget cuts. There were many other things that had to be done within the building. Then came 9/11 and the installation of what were chain link fences at all the portals to City Hall. Now, I'm sure everybody has their own story, but as we were renovating City Hall, Dilworth Park, I can't tell you how many times people came up and said, well, the park's looking great, but what about those terrible chain link fences? What are you going to do about it? Well, Mayor Nutter has done something about it. We're going to hear from the mayor about his team and how they really move this project forward. But the CCD has been delighted to be the agent to oversee the design and construction and to work in partnership with the city. And before I turn the podium over to the mayor, I really want to acknowledge the design and construction team who made this possible. I've already mentioned the engineering design team, Vitetta. The project architect was Nan Gutterman, standing here with her camera taking pictures of it. She was joined by folks from Keystone Hood, the structural engineers, and Plan B Engineering Group. Project was competitively bid, and we were delighted to select Robertson Iron and Scott Howell, here the Vice President and General Manager. His firm specializes in architectural cast metals and historic preservation. They fabricated these gates out of stainless steel and aluminum. Thank God for weight reasons they didn't do them out of cast iron. We all would have collapsed under the weight. Torado Construction did the masonry work, and Lou Torado is here. Lou, where are you? Somewhere here, sitting back over here. And George Young Mechanical did the rigging and installation. And by the way, the George Young Company was founded in Philadelphia in 1869, the same year the gates were designed. CCD was the project manager for this with Steve Buzzy and Hal Welch, working on this totally in partnership with the Public Property Commissioner, Bridget Greenwald. The city, the mayor, put up the overall lion's share of the budget for this, but we are also pleased to get a grant from the William Dietrich Foundation, who generously put forward money to help support this project. Two directors of the foundation were really helpful, Frank Cooper and John Sirocco. But all of those people helped make this happen, but it wouldn't have happened if the mayor had not decided that this was not an important project in the legacy of passing on City Hall in better condition than he found it. So the mayor said, let's get this done. It's my pleasure to introduce the mayor of Philadelphia, Michael A. Nutter.
Paul, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to hold you up. We just had a big announcement down at the Navy Yard. Some of you may know the company Exalta, who opened their global headquarters down the street at Commerce Square, and they just announced this afternoon that they're moving their research and development facility to Philadelphia as well, and that just took place, and that's where I was. Another day in a great city. Paul Levy, our president and CEO of the Center City District, thank you very, very much for the introduction, and thank you to your entire team. Dilworth Park has become the phenomenon, the front yard of one of the most historic buildings in the United States of America, but it is certainly alive each and every day. And whether it's a day like today, where it is approximately 900 degrees outside, or whether it's 5 degrees outside in the winter, and we have a different use for water and water elements, increasingly, Dilworth Park is becoming the place to come for all kinds of events and activities here at City Hall. And I want to thank Paul, and I see Nancy Goldenberg out in the audience, the entire CCD team. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for the partnership and the relationship. A couple of folks that I need to thank, and then I have some remarks. Certainly, I mean, I appreciate the credit, and I'll talk about how I got involved in this, but I mean, it really just takes folks who are really focused, and then they're really focused on getting stuff done and making things happen, especially in government. And two of those folks are behind me, and then there are a ton out in the audience. But the Chief of Staff, Everett Gillison, has this big board in his office, and I had the occasion, I guess about a week or so ago, related to there's this big visit coming up, and someone else wanted to see what Philadelphia was all about. Bring a lot of people with them, and Pope Francis wants to kind of check out what's happening in Philly as well. But I was in Everett's old office before he became Chief of Staff. And, kind of like when your kids maybe go away to school and then they're like away for a while, and, like all the stuff is still in their room, all in the same place, in perfect order. Well, I went in Everett's office about 10 days or so ago, and he has a whiteboard up in that office just like he has in his new office, and it had all of these projects listed that he wanted to do and things he wanted to accomplish as the deputy mayor for public safety. And every one of them has actually been done. One of them will cut the ribbon on, I guess, is that tomorrow? Tomorrow, a brand new police academy for the Philadelphia Police Department. That was on that board 6 years ago. But Everett and Bridget and certainly Kathy Loney with her at times wonderfully quiet, forceful presence, helps to get things done. And one who led a lot of our efforts when we first arrived, of course, hiding in the back with a Phillies cap on. She thinks I don't see her. Is the former Public Property Commissioner, Joan Slaughterback. Please recognize all of these great public servants. Joan, it's really hard to hide when you have a Phillies cap on, but you know you'll figure that out. Our Chief Cultural Officer for the city, Helen Haynes, is in the audience as well. We want to thank Helen and all the things that happen over the Office of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy, and this will certainly be a part of this. Vitetta Architects, Robinson Iron, Fabricators, Keystone Hood, Structural Engineers, Torado Construction on the installation. As Paul mentioned, William Dietrich Foundation, the Philadelphia Art Commission, and the Philadelphia Historical Commission. Even though it's our building, as the public, we still have to go through the same process that any development takes place here in the city of Philadelphia. Please give all of those folks, public and private, a huge round of applause as well. I don't know if he's here, but it is more than appropriate. I think about 6 years ago, somewhere very early on in my tenure, I got a call from Judge Gary DeVito. And, you know, like anybody else, when you get a call from a judge, you know, it's kind of a nerve-wracking kind of situation, as in, why are you calling me and what is this about? In any event, I've known him for some time, and he came in with a set of plans, which may have been the plans that you had, to talk to me about these gates. Now, I love this building. I have disliked those gates from the moment I ever set first foot on City Hall property. I never could, you know, in certain places, a cyclone fence can be the most beautiful thing. Not on the most historic building in the United States of America, certainly here for Philadelphia. But I never understood it, didn't ask a whole lot about it. I've worked here for a long time. You see, Councilman Squilla is in the audience. I came here, of course, to work with as a volunteer for the late Councilman John Anderson, and of course went on to serve in the City Council. Please recognize Councilman Squilla for his presence here today. But it was Judge DeVito who first showed me plans for these iron ornamental gates. And as Paul laid out, you know, 2009, 2010, not exactly a rip-roaring time for us from a capital budget standpoint or big projects. But one of the things, sometimes you just get lucky, and if you hang around long enough, the wheel goes around, the cycles turn, and we really kept that discussion going about the need for these gates. So, as Paul mentioned, started in 1871, completed in 1901, City Hall is one of the world's tallest masonry structures and the largest municipal building by square feet in the United States of America, right here in Philadelphia. 700 rooms, and as Greta Greenberger always reminds me, 88 million bricks, which help to hold up this great building, housing executive branch offices, city council, and the courts, and more than 250 sculptures. It is one of the most visited buildings in the city by tourists and citizens alike. There have been a lot of things happening, of course, in and around City Hall lately. The recent opening of Dilworth Park, the beautification of the North Apron, which will be done very soon, new trees and a new mural on the compass in the courtyard. And at the same time, all of these improvements have been in the planning or underway. A small group, led by Commissioner Collins Greenwald, knew the time was right to plan for the removal of an element of the building that frequently received, as Paul mentioned, negative comments, the temporary, seemingly permanent cyclone gates on the four portals. The story that Bridget likes to tell frequently is that the minute she was appointed to the position of Public Property Commissioner, her father, Ed Collins, a lifelong City of Philadelphia resident and recently retired city employee, told her, quote, "You need to get rid of those cyclone gates on City Hall and replace them with something suitable for the building of such magnitude." And so now I want to ask him to come up. Come on up, sir. As Bridget tells it, he asked once a week, every week, when the gates were going to be installed. I cannot imagine the pressure that must entail. Again, I want to welcome him to the podium here today and thank him for what his daughter has called, quote, his relentlessness in pushing for these gates to become a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Collins. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service as a public employee. I also want to mention the group that Bridget worked with: Alan Greenberger, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development; Catherine Gajewski, the Director of Office of Sustainability; John Farnham, Executive Director of the Historical Commission; Dave Wilson, First Deputy Managing Director; Mami Hari, Deputy Commissioner in the Philadelphia Water Department; Luke Butler, Chief of Staff over in Commerce, Planning and Economic Development; Marty Porter, former Director of the Fund for Philadelphia; Greta Greenberger, our resident City Hall historian and an employee of the Philadelphia Visitor Center. Please give all of them a big, big round of applause. They deserve it. And so after knowing about these gates and this potential for this project about 6 years or so ago and not being able to do it at that time, the group approached me in late 2014 about this project again and made a strong case for the need to remove the cyclone gates once and for all and replace them with something worthy of our building. We were able to commit capital funding, $1.5 million, to the design, fabrication, and installation of these gates. The city entered into an agreement with the Center City District for the management of the design, fabrication, and installation. Pateta Architect firm, a firm with extensive experience and knowledge of City Hall, was selected to oversee the design of the gates based on an illustration completed by City Hall architect John MacArthur. It should be noted that there is only one known illustration of the gates by MacArthur, and that this illustration never resulted in the design, fabrication, or installation of gates on City Hall until today. Big round of applause for John MacArthur, City Hall architect. We had a competitive process to find the fabrication and installation firm. Robinson Iron was awarded and went to work immediately to meet the tight deadline of having all 4 sets of gates installed by the end of 2015. That is merely a coincidence, has nothing to do with the fact that I have to leave in January. Nothing to do with it. Don't believe that for a second. And as you can see behind me, the gates on the west portal have been completed. These gates, while ornate in nature, are functional as well. And despite the weight of each gate leaf, totaling more than 3,300 pounds, each side can be opened, closed, and locked by a person of average strength.
We're going to find that out.
Yeah, we're going to check that out in a second. The remainder of the gates, starting with the south and ending with the north, will be completely installed by early December of 2015. I want to thank everybody involved in this project to make City Hall look its historic best. And what Paul said earlier, it really is consistent with the way that I and we have tried to govern. And so I'll leave you with this. Many of you know that I love the Athenian Oath, and I think today's ceremony with these gates fits in with the last line, which is, thus in all these ways we will transmit this city greater, better, and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. Philadelphia City Hall has never, ever looked better than what we've been doing over the past few years. But today's installation of these gates and the complete project by the end of this year will fully make City Hall one of the most beautiful municipal buildings anywhere in the entire world. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.